Now, again, if this is a success, and if the Ford site is a success, why aren't they putting more licenses in? They've got a bunch of franchises available. What is it a case of that horse racing is lost its interest in people? Is it a case of that perhaps maybe people have found other ways to gamble? And let's also bring in the fact home computers. You can bet online. Anyone? We've got a phone call right now. Let's go to the phones and welcome to What's on Your Mind with Tripp and Mark.
Hi, this is Angelo from Brick.
Hey, Angelo.
I'm enjoying the show, and Tripp, I always enjoyed you on the radio, too.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Angelo.
I think the reason that horse racing has declined is because the 20-something generation never really got into it. They became legal at an age where casinos were available. And I have two sons that are in their 20s, and they never go to the racetrack. They go to Atlantic City.
Angelo, do you go to the racetrack?
I go to the racetrack.
Okay.
And I go to Atlantic City.
That's a very, very valid point, Angelo. I hadn't thought of it that way, but the younger crowd, you're right. This generation is the generation that's grown up with casino gambling here in New Jersey, and horse racing is. Because I'm trying to think where horse racing is big. Kentucky in that area, and in Florida.
I'm not here. It's called the sport of kings, but the 20-something generation would rather travel and go into a Texas Hold'em tournament.
Yeah. How did you get involved in with horse racing? What piqued your interest?
When I was a teenager, I was in college. We would go. I grew up down the shore. We would go to Monmouth Park, and we'd go there a couple times through the summer. We'd bet. I get the racing form. I do my own analysis of who could win, my own handicapping, and I got involved. But the casinos were not available to me.
The other thing, when you do go down to casinos, I guess you go to play table games. You don't go and bet, because you can bet there on horse racing.
You can bet there on horse racing, but it's not the same as going to the track. There's a thrill at the track, a seeing, hearing the bell, hearing the gate open, that the younger generation doesn't experience. They're more caught up into the whole atmosphere of going to Atlantic City. And like I said, they'll go to a Texas Hold'em tournament miles away to try to enter or play. So it's kind of the fad has changed.
All right.
When you're at the track, what would you say is the percentage of the younger crowd there?
I think it's a lower percentage. I think there's people more in the 40s and up at the track.
Yeah. Angelo, we appreciate
That's my observation.
Yeah.
Angelo, we appreciate the phone call, and we appreciate the insight. That was a great phone call and a great insight.
Right.
And I hadn't thought about that. The generation, there's a generation gap. We'll continue talking about this. Please give us a call. It's What's on Your Mind. Tripp Rogers and Mark Bronkowski. We'll be back with more in just a couple moments here on TomsRiver.tv. What's on Your Mind is the name of the show. I'm Tripp Rogers. Mark Bronkowski is my cohort here. We're talking about the issue of horse racing in the state of New Jersey. And again, it relates to Toms River because one of the two off-track betting facilities are located here, Favorites in Toms River. And, Mark, I guess the question I'm going to ask you, have you ever been to Favorites?
No, I haven't. And it's not that far from here.
Because I've been there a couple of times, and it's a great facility to go to, and you can go and enjoy and make your bets too. But I think it opened just before was it the Derby in 2008, because was it 2008 or 2007? I can't remember because I made a bet there. Because I went there and made a bet on the Derby and made a bet on the Preakness, and I lost my shirt in the Preakness because didn't have the winner. But it is, and the thing about it is, it's not just a gambling establishment; it is a dining facility too. But the thing that bothers me is if you're in a state that needs money, okay, to make it easier for people to gamble or to take their money, to a certain extent, you would want to put these off-track betting facilities in places. You don't have time to go. People go to Freehold Raceway. People go to Monmouth Park for simulcast betting. They go to the Meadowlands, too. They go to the casinos to bet. But if you have something in your town, you don't have to travel 45, 50 minutes. You can do it in town, and the state would get a cut of it. See, that's the important part of this. The state would get some money, and much needed money, and I think that's what they're missing right now. And I think well, we're losing money. We've got to take care of it. The horse racing industry could be something that could save this state. But again, as Angelo pointed out, I think it was a very good point. There's a lost generation because nobody cares about horse racing except for the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont Stakes. And that's only if you get somebody to win the first 2 races. The Belmont Stakes is forgotten about. But there have been some calls inside the horse racing industry that maybe it's time to do away with the length because they say that the Belmont is too long and it's inhumane to run horses that long, especially with the schedule they have. I just it's funny because there are certain forms of entertainment that last for a long time. Television, radio, iPods now. Maybe horse racing is maybe it's something we maybe need to think about moving away from, and you think about other forms of entertainment. And again, sticking to gambling though, maybe it's time to bring sports betting to New Jersey. The problem, of course, there is that there are only 2 states that are allowed to have sports betting. I know one of them is Delaware, and the other one I can't remember what it is. It's like Idaho. Those are the only 2 places you can bet sports in the United States, and I'm sitting there going, why is that? You can have it outside of Las Vegas right now. And again, the obvious reason is because you don't have professional teams in Vegas. You don't have professional teams in Delaware. You don't have professional teams in Idaho. Who would put a team in Idaho? The most professional team you got in Idaho is Boise State. Think about that. With the blue turf, the blue AstroTurf. That's the professional team.
And who's going there to bet there? We're going to take a plane flight to go lay a bet? I mean, obviously, what's there in Idaho besides potatoes?
That's right. That's right. It is something that you have to look at. And again, I feel that the situation with it being in Tom's River, the next question would be, if you're going to do a railway, why'd you build the thing in the first place? That's the part of it. I'd be curious as to why the other facilities weren't being built.
You got to remember too, with the economy being the way it is in the past year, who's got money really to gamble?
You seem to have money.
I've always been told though, when I gamble what you can lose, afford to lose. Right now, can't afford to lose nothing. So this boy has really been gambling lately. Even though there will be a gamble this coming Sunday, I will tell you that.
All right, now I have to tell a story about Mark. Mark is there are novice gamblers, there are heavyweight gamblers. Not in terms of money, not size. Mark is one of these people who gambles a lot. And I'll never forget, it was a monumental occasion. I remember the exact date, too. It was July 15th, 2008, when Mark Bronkowski announced to the world, in my living room, he was done betting on the NFL. And a month later, I went out to Vegas, and he called me. Hey, bring me back the lines on the season. You can see that moratorium lasted all of a month. So, we have a long memory of these things, Mark.
Yeah, well, you couldn't get that bet in, too. It was a laydown. The Jets did win more than 8 games.
No, that was last year. That was 2009. This is 2008.
Yeah, well, we all have our vices, and, I do like to gamble, but I'm not into, having to go to AA yet, so, GA. Sorry.
All right,
or AA.
But listen, Angelo also talked about something that I think a lost generation has. Going to the track. Do you have any? I have specific.
It's fun to go to the track.
We
had some of the funniest times at the track.
I have one specific memory, and my old girlfriend. This was my high school girlfriend. You met her. She and I got reacquainted last year. Mary Lou and I were driving around one night. I said, hey, let's go to the Meadowlands. We drove out to the Meadowlands racetrack, which, we were up in North Jersey. We were only like 15, 20 minutes away, and went to the Meadowlands racetrack, caught a couple of races. It was great. And I remember that because, first time I'd gone to the track, I had heard about the track because my mom and my dad had gone, but I'd never been to the track, And, of course, having worked at the Meadowlands for a year for the State Racing Commission, I have a